everyone, welcome again to another crochet infusion. Thank you all so much for being here with me today. So today I'm showing you all how to do the puff flower. This is a lovely little flower that you can make as an embellishment, or of course you can do this as a whole project for something and sew them all together. You can do so many amazing things with these lovely puff flowers. So in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to do your puff flower, and I'm also going to show you how to connect them all together. So this is the first one that I've made, and I am using a ran yarn, so I'm just going to set that one to a side, and I'm going to start with this colour yarn. There are some supplies you're going to need, and I'm using today a ran yarn. Of course you can use any yarn that you wish, and I'm going to be using a size 5.5mm crochet hook. By all means you can use any size hook you wish, depending on the yarn type that you're using. And also you're going to need some scissors and a tapestry needle for today's project. So slip those to the side. So as I mentioned, I'm using a 5.5mm crochet hook because I'm using a ran yarn. And so I'm going to start by doing a slip knot. So to do your slip knot, you just want to wrap the yarn around your finger and make your slip knot. I tend to just fold that piece of yarn behind, and then I insert my hook through the center and pull that center strand through and pull that now so it's attached to my hook. And then I'm going to go to that slip knot just here. I'm going to push that so it's nice and secure to my hook. So now I'm going to do a chain of 4. So to do your chain of 4, you're just going to pick up your yarn and hold your yarn however you do, and you're going to pull this yarn through this loop. So you'll go 1, pick up again, that's 2, 3, and then 4. So now you've got a chain of 4, and I'm going to go into that very first chain that we made, insert your hook, pull the yarn through, and then you're going to pull through one more time because you're going to do a slip stitch right through that loop that's already attached to your hook. So pull through, and then you're going to chain 1. So here I just like to tighten things up, so I'm just going to push slightly on that slip knot side, and then I need to find the opening of this ring that we've just made. Insert your hook into the center of there, and make sure you do go right into the center, because if you just look closely you've kind of got two lots of yarn there, so you don't want to go through there, you need to go through actually in the center and pull the yarn through. So now you've got 2 loops on your hook. You're going to pick up the yarn and you're going to go through both of those loops that's on your hook. And I don't like to do this one single crochets that we're doing now. I don't like to do these tight, I like to do these quite loose. So that's 1. Going into the next stitch, going into the center again to make your next single crochet. So pull your yarn through, 2 loops on the hook and pull through 2 loops, that's 2. In again, pull your yarn through, 2 loops, pull through 2. So we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then your last one for 6. Just make sure you have got 6 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So then you can just take your tail and you're just going to pull that slightly, not all the way, only slightly for now. And then I'm going to insert into that very first stitch, not into here, into this very first single crochet that we did. Pull the yarn through, and then I like to push at the back this center piece here just so it makes it puff a bit better, and then pull that through for a slip knot, and then work your chain 1. So here I like to just take this tail that's at the back and just pull, and that will close that center. So now we're going to go into, actually now, if you are using this colour, you are going to continue on by doing a chain of 3, and then you're going to yarn over and work on your puffs. For me, I'm actually going to stop right here, so I've done my chain 1, so I've done a slip stitch and then a chain 1, because now I want to change colour for the next round. So I'm just going to cut some yarn. You don't need incredibly a long length of yarn, just enough to weave in at the end. So So I'm done with that colour, and now I'm on to my pink colour. And I'm just going to pull that through because I'm going to fasten that off because I'm done with that round. So once that's secure, so you're going to do chain one and fasten that off. So I'm going to go into the next stitch. So I'm not going to go into here, I'm going to go into this one right here. Insert your hook, put your yarn over your hook, and you're going to keep hold of your yarn as you work because just to keep it secure. So I just hold that together on the back of the center of the flower, and I'm going to pull the yarn through that loop through the first single crochet, and I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, yarn over. I'm going to go into that same stitch and I'm going to pull the yarn through. So now I'm ready to do my puff. So here you just want to make sure your hook is quite high up to the same of your chain. So now we're going to yarn over the hook and we're going to go in for 5 times. So that's going to be 1. So insert your hook and pull the yarn through and pull it back up. So that's 1. Yarn over, insert, pull through and pull up tight as you can. So that's 2, 3, 4 and your very last one for 5. So that's 5 loops in total. Well, actually it's 6 in total because we did the first one. I don't count that very first one, and then I do 5 after that, so it's technically 6. So I'm going to pull through all of these loops without dropping my hook at the best I can, and through that last stitch. So then I'm just going to pull through the loop that's already on my hook, and that is just going to do a slip stitch. And now here I like to take that pink tail, I'm just going to pull on that slightly just so everything tightens in nicely, and then I'm going to chain 1. Going into the next stitch once again with my pink tail end, that's just going to sit over my hook yet again, pull through and pull through the loop that's on my hook and just pull that nice and taut, and then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, insert into the same stitch, pull the yarn through and pull up. Remember, I don't count this one, but I will from here on. Will be 5 more, so it's technically 6, not 5. So I'm going to do 5 more. So yarn over, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that very last one for 5. And then I'm going to pull through all of those loops and trying not to get my hook caught or let it slip off. Yarn through for a slip stitch and chain 1. Into the next stitch, be very careful you don't get stuck because sometimes you can accidentally miss a stitch. So insert into the next stitch, and here you can still use your tail if you like to go through again. So insert your hook, put my tail over my hook and do another slip stitch, chain 3, yarn over your hook, insert and pull the yarn up, and then 5 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, some more yarn, and then my last one for 5. And remember to go through all of those loops. I like to hold at the bottom while I'm doing this so it's nice and secure as I'm working through, and then slip stitch, get off my hook, slip stitch and chain 1. When I do that slip stitch, I like to do that quite tight, just simply because it's nice to try and get it to actually feel more secure, so you get that puff going on. So now I'm going into the next stitch. So if you just look here, it kind of looks like that stitch is gone, but it's actually not, it is there. It's just closed over slightly. So in again, and do a slip stitch, yarn over, insert and pull up. 1, 2, 3, 4, some more yarn, and then 5. Pull through all of those loops, and then do your slip stitch and chain 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, so this is our 5th one now. Yarn over, do a slip stitch, chain 3, yarn over and work your puff. 1, 2, that tail is in my way now, 3, 4, and then my last one for 5. When you do this last one for 5, be very careful not to accidentally go in between from the other round, because it's quite easy to do that on accident, so just be a bit mindful to actually go through there and try not to get caught into there. That has happened to me quite a lot of times when I've been working on these puff flowers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have one more for 6. Let's get some more yarn. So going into this very last one for my last puff, as you can see I've got 1 stitch left. Chain 3, yarn over and pull up, and then do 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and remember to do your best not to accidentally go into there, but to go into that stitch without going into that wrong place of there. And pull through all of those loops and pull through again and chain 1. So we did a slip stitch at the end there. So we've got one more last stitch, and it's right in the center here. Might be a bit hard to find, just separate it apart and you should just find it right there. Insert your hook and pull through again for a slip stitch and pull quite tight and do a chain of 1. Here I like to cut some length of yarn for sewing, so I do cut quite a bit off here, which you probably don't need as much as I use, but I like to make sure I've got enough yarn to complete my flower completely. So just pull that through and that will fasten off, and then here you can just puff out your flowers just by pushing at the back, and that will just puff them all out for you. So now I'm going to close the center, so you can leave the center like this if you wish. Some people do leave them open, or of course you can close yours. I've got this little tail here from where I was crocheting around, so I'm just going to cut that off because it's already sewn in, so it's nice and secure. I'm just going to pull on it slightly and just give it a little cut. I don't need that. And then I'm going to pick up my tapestry needle. I'm going to start sewing the center in. So what I like to do here, I just wrap the yarn and pull that quite tight, and that will close the center, but it does spring open again, so I like to pull it anyway so it's nice and tight, and then I will sew this in to completely close that over. So the way I do that now, I'm just going to sew in. I'm just going to go through the stitches and just go in a circle, just following the stitches around, basically in and out and around, and just keep pulling as I go, and it will just eventually close that center piece for you. So just pull and then go through to the next. You might have to do it maybe 4 or 5 times going around before it actually closes, but it will close. And as you're going around, you just want to give it a pull and see how it's looking on the other side. So I'm quite happy with that now. And then I'm just going to go anywhere, any direction. It doesn't really matter which way I go, as long as I go in an opposite direction to what I was going. And then one more time, just to make it nice and secure, so it's not going to come undone. so that's nice and closed, and then I'm going to cut that piece, and then as you can see I've still got a small tail here. I'm just going to leave that there for now. And if you wanted yours a little bit tighter, again, if you've got any opening, I would use this colour. I don't always, it just depends on how the flower turns out, but I like to go around. Sometimes if you just look here, I've got like a little bit of brown showing there. I don't really like that, the look of that, so I'm just going to go from the back, and I'm going to just weave around just to try and hide that a little. But of course you don't have to do this, this is completely optional, this is just me. I'm a bit fussy and I like everything to be as neat as I can. So I'm just going to go through to here, and I'm just going to go through and come back out on the other side. And just pull on that slightly, and now that's completely closed. And just give it another pull just to hide that sewing. And then at the top here, I'm just going to come back through, and I'm actually going to join these two petals together as well from the start and the end. And all that's for is just because I just feel it's too wide apart and I don't really like that kind of look, so I just like to attach them both together just by going one way and then back through the other way. And that is enough for me for now. I will leave that tail there for a moment as I'm sewing and attaching these together. So basically, because if I'm attaching more on and on, I like to keep an extra tail in case I need to tie it, or I might need to use it for another flower as I'm working, and then I will go back around again and sort those ends out again. So when you want to sew these together to connect them together, you want to turn them upside down, and the best thing to do is to use the stitch that's on the inside if you go through the chain threes. So I'm just going to turn these around so these are going to be connected. So I'm just going to go through that chain three. I'm actually just going to go through this one here because it's the closest stitch to me, and just move whichever way the flower wants to sit. So maybe we'll go here, or maybe we can go here, that's better. So I'm just going to go through the back stitch. I don't want to go through this front one, I'm going to go through the back stitch. Now if you're working in different colours, for example your next flower could be brown and the inside of that is pink, make sure you leave a nice tail to weave in with the brown for the darker colour of, so it's sewing in the best that you can, so you can't see those colours bleeding through. So I'm just going to pull through those two, and I'm going to go to the next stitch, and I'm going to go through the inside stitch, the one that's closest to me, and then I'm going to go into the back stitch of that next flower through that chain three. And when you are sewing more than two together like this, you might have a lot more sewing to do, because obviously you need to follow around to the next flower. So for example, let's get another one that I made earlier. If I wanted to attach this one on, for example, for 3, then I would continue on connecting these two here, and then I will connect from here and then onto here, and then down here and down there as well, anywhere wherever the flower wants to sit. And that's just simply to make it nice and secure. So I'm just going to carry on just sewing this together for you so you can actually see how this connection is going to look at the end. So now I'm just going to put that petal into there. I'm going to connect on the third one because I'm doing a big project and I want to have lots of these together. Of course you don't have to if you're not doing a big project, but it's always handy to know the best way to sew these on so you get a nice clean finish to your work, because you spent a long time on doing these flowers and you want it to be as nice as you can, because you know it's the best part of your work. Although for me, I'm not a big sewer, but at the same time I like my work to be nice and neat, and I'm sure you do too. So it's always best to have a nice sewing. So when I get to the end there, I'm just going to bring my tapestry needle back through, and I'm coming all the way back down here, just at the side. You don't want to go all the way through, you're just going through the back of that flower. So now we're here and we can connect these ones on to here. So you can go through there if you wanted to into the centre, and then come through here, through to here. And I think you kind of get the idea, you know, what I'm doing here now to connect all of these together. So when you are ready and yours are all sewn in together, just going to pop that out of there. So now it's time to secure them. So you want them nice and secure. So just weave in and around, and if you go one way and go in the other direction way, that does kind of sturdy things in. And of course you can even just do this, which is what I do. I pull through so much and then I go through that loop, and I'll pull through that loop twice and fasten, and then I'll go back through again in any direction, pull that through. You don't want it too bulky, want it so it's nice and smooth, and then just simply cut, and then of course secure your other ends in. So that is now all connected, and that is how you would connect yours together. Depending on what you're making, you just make sure you position them before you start sewing them, because if you do sew them in the wrong way, then you know you've got that unpicking to do, and that's not fun. So thank you everyone for being here today. Thank you all so much for subscribing. If you haven't already, please do subscribe so you will be notified of any new tutorials that I do for you all. So until next time, thank you everyone, and I'll be back very soon. Thank you all. Bye.